Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Bill Wyatt again. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit this afternoon about ectopically erupting. This one particular is the lower right 6-year molar, and I am a general dentist who's done nothing but orthodontics for the last 42 years, a little over that. And I did a lot of orthodontics even prior to that. Anyway, I'm a member of the American Orthodontic Society, and that's the one that I'm coming to you with this afternoon. And I'm definitely promoting the American Orthodontic Society. If you want to learn orthodontics, get in the American Orthodontic Society. They have a wonderful group of lecturers, and they can teach you some real solid orthodontics. That's their sole purpose, is to teach good, solid orthodontics to as many dentists and pediatric dentists and any dentist. In fact, we have some regular orthodontists that come and take some of the courses with us. Now, anyway, I'm going to push this up and get talking a little bit about this ectopic erupting. This is something I feel that somebody ought to be watching real close, and of course the best person to do that, I feel, is the pediatric dentist who's going to be seeing this child continuously for several years here, or a general dentist who has done nothing or done an awful lot of interceptive and preventive orthodontics can do this also. So anyway, let's get on with it. I'm going to show you this young lady. Her mother worked for a dentist, and the dentist came in and took a course from us, or several courses. He was pretty good at this, but he didn't want to do it, and this is his assistant's daughter that has this problem, and so he sent her over to me. He saw what we did with some of these ectopically erupting teeth, so he sent this young lady and her mother over to our office, and I was happy to take it. It's a neat little girl, very, very cute, and I enjoyed working on her. It was a pleasure. So here she is again, and here is why she came in. She had a 6-year molar now. This is a 6-year molar, and this is a second deciduous molar right here. Now the 6-year molar was leaning too far over as it moved forward up here, and the resorptive cells just came up and ran into this root of this deciduous tooth, which would be coming off somewhere down in this area. I don't know exactly where it would be, but these resorptive cells just literally ate that root away and would be eating into the dental structure here. Now the nerve doesn't die in the tooth, it'll just eat it all up here. Everything, it's still a vital tooth, but it doesn't have probably a little less than half of what it had to start with, because there's no bone underneath this area either. So let me erase that and we can look at it a little better. I've seen people come in and try to put something down in here and push backwards and prise on this tooth to make this tooth raise up and come in, which usually causes this root right here to give up, and it'll eat it away. These cells will go in here and eat it out. And then you lose this tooth, and the 6-year molar here will drift all the way up like this, come in this area, and if you leave them alone, I mean, they'll crowd up. Sometimes they'll get all the way up here to first deciduous molar. That probably wouldn't happen in this case. Probably catch on this bicuspid that's coming in underneath there. But you've got a mess on your hands. If you don't do something with this right away, then your chances are over. We put out a video one time called "A Stitch in Time Saves 9." That's what my grandmother used to teach me, and it certainly does. If you let this tooth go, then this tooth is going to end up over in this area, and it's going to be the dickens to push it back and clear it up and catch this tooth above it. See, it's already dropping down in here further. It's down past those teeth. And you've got to get this tooth up here where it'll contact that, and it'll level this out again right here. So we're going to need to set this tooth up. Now I can tell you before you get in there, it's going to rotate somewhere around, just around the bifurcation in the roots, or a little below or something. That depends on the length of the roots and a lot of things like that. But this crown will move out in this direction, and it'll end up over here like such. Now we're going to have to come in here and put some force on it to do that. And let me show you the best way that I've ever figured out to do it. And I've tried several ways prior, and this is the best one that I've come up with, and I've not ever seen anything any better than this. Now we put a bunch of brackets on these teeth, which is not necessary, and we put a bracket on this one, but you can get just a tube that you can get on the buccal side over here that would fit in there like that. Then you have to try, now you want to have a rectangular tube. And you use a rectangular wire in here so it won't roll over when you activate it. And you can put some activation in it, but I would make the wire coming out something like this. And then you can make the loop two different ways. I drew it this bottom way like that. And now you come out here. And now that's about all the activation you can put in this. You come down and come up like that, and come out this way. Now when you bring this up to hook it on something over here, it tightens that spring, you see. You want it done that way. Now if the situation allows you to, you can make the spring with a loop going above. So if you make it going above, it's much simpler. You just circle it like this. And now you come out, and so you put this in, and the loop would be going in this direction right here. And then you activate it by bringing this up and hooking it onto something over here. And then as the tooth comes out of here, this kind of rotates around this part, and this goes back, and this part where these are will end up back here, and it will drag the hook that you put on it back in this direction. So you have to hook it behind something, and it'll come back to where it's about in the middle or past when it's corrected it like this. This is a good place here to illustrate what we're going to do. Now, when this tooth comes up first, like you put this rectangular deal in here, and you've got a deal, and then we use one going up, so we'll do that, and this comes off straight, and we mark where we're going to bond something over here, and we put brackets on, but all you have to do is just lay about an 018 wire and go in here and bond it to about 3 of these teeth, you see. Now you bring this hook or this wire that you've got up and you mark it where it comes up here, you mark it. Now you take that mark in that wire and you go inside, and then you kind of cup down like this so that you've got a hook in the end of this, and you raise it up and hook it right behind that tooth. Now as this tooth comes out of here, it starts moving back here. This hook will slide back down this wire to here somewhere before this tooth will come out, and it'll have a big gap in here, something like, I think it's even bigger than that. Now you say, oh, we got this big gap in here, but now this wire is still coming across to this tube, and at this point, this is coming up like this. We can activate this more. In other words, you can stick a optical plier in here, a double optical plier, and it'll have a small deal underneath here and a kind of a cup on this side. You can mash it and it'll make this wire come out and head down there again. So now it's still up here, but it's got activation in it. So this tail end of this is activated. It's kind of like that, and yet it's in this position. Now this activation in here, you tie on this, get it, it's sticking out the back, you tie on the elastic and come up and tie it to these, and it'll pull this tooth forward. Now you need to get this down now. I'm going to erase this. Now, as it pulls this tooth forward, you've got to visualize now the tooth is actually setting up in here, and it'll shove that one back, and then the roots will be going down and coming up in this area, and I want it to come forward with the roots. So the tube is something like here, and this spring is coming across and coming out here, and we've got a couple of deals there, and it's going on up and lining up in these brackets that we've got here. But the activation is down here, and as it comes forward, this pressure putting on there is making the roots go forward. As you pull the crown forward with an elastic, it'll pull this tooth forward and it'll come out right over in this area, and the roots will be right down in this area, be right underneath the crown. In other words, you're not going to just tilt this crown over, you're going to bring it forward bodily because of the activation in this spring wire that we've put in here to upright this tooth. It has a double duty, and it'll do that. Now this is not, people don't seem to grasp that real quick, but that is a fact of what it'll do, and I'm going to go through this video and show you how this thing worked in the mouth now, and then we'll get back on the x-rays back in just a little bit. And don't worry, if this goes up and hits this tooth, it'll push it up and this one down, and they'll work it out and they'll come out on the occlusal plane, the level of these two crowns right here, and it can shove this second molar out of the way, and if there's a wisdom tooth in the way, it'll shove it out of the way. All you have to do is just put this force on it, coming up like that, and then it's continued to activate it, and as you get this thing up like this, it's going to come forward in a parallel fashion. It'll be bodily brought forward. The roots will come forward just like the crown because of this activation of this wire down here. So you just have to try that. It is extremely efficient. I have never run on a tooth that I couldn't upright. I would love to get one where the crown was headed off down here, something. I think it would, if you could get on the side of that tooth, you could set that rascal up. You may have to find somewhere to put the roots of the tooth, but you could, it'll upright it if you can just get something on the side of that tooth. Okay, all right, here we go. Here is the case in treatment. Now, we put brackets on these teeth, which is totally unnecessary. You can just put a little composite and put about an 018 arch wire in here, and put a little circle on the end, and it's over here. And you put your arch wire in that, you see. You bring it up and you hook it behind one of these brackets, and it'll slide backwards. You got this little arch wire in there, and then hook this rectangular spring wire behind one of the brackets. Okay, let me get, maybe we'll get something a little closer. Let me see whether I jumped over there. That's nothing there. Okay, now, okay, this shows, see this hook that we built on it, it's right behind this bracket. If I had bonded this on there, it would be right behind the bond. Now you could take it and bend something like this, bond that onto a tooth. You've got a bracket here, you put a bracket on the second deciduous molar that you don't want to put much force on this tooth. You want it to ride through it, probably have very little force on it. So the downward force is right here on the first deciduous molar. It's almost totally on it. Now as the tooth gets set up in here, this slides back here, and it has a little force on this second deciduous molar, the one that has one of the roots out from under it, and we're going to want to keep it as a space maintainer and put that 6-year molar up beside it back there, and that's what we actually did with that. Okay, this is another video further down, not too much further because this hook hasn't moved very much. As that tooth upright, this is going to slide backwards in the case. Now here, the 6-year molar now that was down underneath here is setting up back in this area. And this hook that was right here is back to there, see? So as this tooth went up, this steel went back with it, and it slid back that far, slid back over here that far. Now at this time, this is already up, so it's not taking much force. But we're going to be pulling this whole tooth to close this gap in here. So we put some elastic out here and go back behind this and pull on it. But this thing is still activated, so this wire coming out of here is going down to some extent, or you can activate it however much you need by here, by bending this with the optical plier and making this part go down more, and that puts more force on it, and as you pull it forward, it pulls the root and all in a forward manner and has it straight up and down. Now if you just pulled and you didn't have any of that, the tooth would tend to lean over in there, and that's not what we want in there. We want to bring the roots forward with the crown. And so I hope you are able to think this through and see what happens here. And that'll pull this whole thing back. Now this hook will slide back up here when you pull that together, and it will bring or make the roots come with the crown. It's going to move like that when it comes forward in there. And if you don't believe it, you take it and x-ray it as you go through it. It'll do that. If it's not, then you put more activation in it or have less force pulling it forward. The activation, you can bring that tooth forward bodily just perfectly. And the crown will be perfectly level back in there. And that's your 6-year molar. And your upper tooth, and it's budded again. It'll level out to where the full plane is almost exactly the same all the way through there. So don't go grinding off some of the tooth up here because it's going to bump it. Let it go ahead and bump it. It'll push it up and push that one down, and it'll come out. You do not need to grind the tooth down going through that process. Okay, there's where the tooth was. That's the first time. That's a mirror stuck in there. And you can see the angle that was and where it evened out underneath there. And then if we erase that, I'm going to go back to that other picture. Now you see where it is there. And now here is where we started. And I'm going to go ahead to another deal. All right, here we go back to the Panorex. And when I got these people in, I just sat down with the x-ray and drew what I was planning to do. And I put some brackets on this, and but I really didn't need to. You could just put a piece of wire in there and bond it. We've done that a lot of times. We bring somebody's wisdom teeth in 2 or 3 years after we finish the orthodontics. It's almost it's quicker and less traumatic and doesn't cost as much really as going in and having your wisdom tooth extracted. We can just set them up, you see, by just bonding a wire on your 6th and 7th and maybe go up on the 2nd bicuspid or something, and then make one of those uprighting springs and hook it on that wisdom tooth. Now it's gotta be on the side of the tooth. So we take electrosurge a lot of times and just uncover a tooth and put a tube on it and put a deal in there, and you can normally just go up like this, and then you come down here and bring it up and hook it, and it'll just take a tooth. I've brought people's wisdom teeth in. They had plenty of room, and the wisdom tooth would be tilted over and running into this, and we just straighten the thing up. Or this is so handy. I mean, you get all kind of cases that come in with teeth leaning in all kinds of ways. It's ridiculous to use them that way. You can straighten the teeth so easy, even if you've got gaps in there. Just bond a wire on 2 or 3 teeth and make a spring, bring it up and hook it over there, and it'll straighten the tooth up and let it stay there a little bit and the bone settle, and then you put your bridge or whatever you want to do in it. So this learning how to upright these teeth is a very vital thing that I think every dentist ought to be taught that. I mean, just regular dentists need to know that. They can straighten teeth up and put bridges on them. There's no sense of them having to send every little old thing off to an orthodontist or off to somebody else, and they make some big deal of it. They've got to take all these records and all this mess. That guy learns how to do that. He can do it real simple He can do it before you can fill out all the blooming papers you'd have to fill out, especially to get insurance on it and everything else. You can straighten teeth up. So learn how to do this. Every dentist ought to know this. They ought to be taught it in school. Then they would not have to depend on sending somebody out there. They end up not doing it. So they make a bridge on somebody like that and crown the tooth leaning over like that. I've seen, I don't know how many bridges sitting on leaning posts, you know, that's ridiculous. So I am really for teaching dental practitioners, everybody, certain types of orthodontics. They should know all they want to know and can learn, and have the orthodontist back them up. The orthodontist ought to be the back. I mean, that's where the buck should stop. I mean, they should do the tough, hard stuff and let people do the easy, simple orthodontics. Certainly dentists are capable of doing it, and certainly pediatric dentists are able to, and they ought to be doing this stuff early on people and see it when it's there and do it and get it over with, and all this bickering about who's going to get to do it. If we did this, every dentist would see 10 times more orthodontics than he actually does a lot of times, and referring it out and stuff like this. So just irritates me that people would think they should not know this. So I'm passing this on to you, and I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'm sorry for this, but here we uprighted the tooth. You see, it's moving out, and there it went to that point right there. And now I don't have a picture of pulling it up together, but it's a very simple matter. If we still have the activation in it, pull it there and it'll move forward just bodily and close that space up. So I'm going to show you a few more pictures here, and I think there is the little spring that we used. It's turned upside down, but that's a simple little spring. Anybody can bend that spring and put it in there. And there it is. When we put it in, it was right there as his tooth set up. It slid from here back to there. And if you catch hold of it now and pull it back, it'll come back to about here before this closes up against that. Now this is a perfect space maintaker. Even though it's just got one root, it'll hold it, just hold the space open for the bicuspid comes in. It's so much better to do it this way. God, learn how to do this. If you're a dentist and they didn't teach you in dental school to do this, they're afraid. I don't know what they're afraid of. You should know this, and you can upright any tooth in the mouth and put your bridges on the teeth when they're up and down, supporting the bridge correctly. There's no sense in this not knowing how to do it. It's really quite simple. Once you get it, start doing some of it. Now let's see. Here we are in the Panorex, and you see that tooth there again, and we back that thing out of there. It just backs out. Don't try to push it out of there with this tooth, or you'll lose this tooth. This tooth is not, it's got one little puny root back here, and there are resorptive cells in there already. And you start screwing around with it, and that tooth will go, and you'll lose this. Then you've got a big problem on your hand. You bond something, see the weight is on this tooth while it's picking this up. Now as it gets it up, and it's over here, there's some weight on this. Well, the weight is closer on this tooth, but the tooth doesn't take a whole lot to keep it straight. And this root will stand that, and then you can pull this forward like that. Now, I've frustrated you enough, I'm sorry. So here's the little girl. We finished her up, and that's my final picture. I hope you get this, and I hope to goodness every dentist in this whole world learns how to upright teeth. It's something that ought to be taught in the dental schools to everybody that learns how to do dentistry. You would see so much more orthodontics and defer more. The orthodontists themselves would not be able to do all the work that people would want if they knew they could have it done. Just believe me, that is a fact. So anyway, I'll hush up, and they're having the big time pediatric meeting now in the Wyatt, and I hope that they will vote to train the pediatric dentist orthodontics. There's no reason they shouldn't be doing it. They're the ones that see the kid early, and they ought to be the ones that start the stuff early and get to it when they should be, when it's easy to do it. Thank you very much, and I'll hope to see you somewhere down the line. So thanks for staying with us with our videos, and we'll try to keep passing them on to you. So good evening. I'm going to close this thing out now.